right, it is time for another mock draft. Today, we draft from the number 9 slot in a 12-team league. We have been going through spots 1 through 8, and admittedly, Team 8 might be my favorite so far. I think we did really well from that spot, and so I think that there is an opportunity to maybe build off of that here with Team 9. So, as always, 12-team, half-point PPR. Let's get into it. We will hit OK. This is on sleeper.com. Amazing mock draft app. So it starts out McCaffrey, Hill, Lamb, Bijan Robinson going 4, Jefferson at 5, Chase at 6, Brown at 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 8, and so it gets to us at 9. And this was the same situation basically we were in at Team 8. And so this one, like, Gibbs is interesting. Taylor, Saquon, Garrett Wilson, all quite interesting. This is an automatic click. The fact that I'm already taking 20 seconds to make this, I'm sure Sleeper has alarm bells going off like, hey, this person might not be real or might be drunk doing this, because it's Breece Hall. It is 100% Breece Hall. After that, a couple more running backs go. Taylor, Gibbs, Barkley, then it's Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Puka Nacua. So it comes back around to us. If you're watching, I hope you can make that out. We have Travis Etienne, Kyron Williams, and Derrick Henry as the running backs available. At wide receiver, it is Drake London, Devontae Adams, and Chris Olave, with Josh Allen, who has been going around to these parts as well. I have just kind of laid out, if you're watching the full episode, my concern about Kyron Williams, and I've kind of laid that out throughout this whole thing. I have never been huge on ETN, but last year he really showed me that he can, I think, be a legitimate number 1 back. And again, if you're watching the full episode, I just big upped Jacksonville as a team that should make the playoffs this year. So I will go Travis Etienne. Start out with my running backs being Hall and Etienne, and now gonna have to piece together a wide receiver room. Not a huge run on them. Now we might start to see it, but after us, it went Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, Kyron Williams, Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Josh Allen goes in the top of the back part of the second round, Drake London as well. Then it's Devon Achane, Brandon Ayuk, and a couple running backs in Jacobs and Pacheco, another tight end in Laporta, Evans. Deebo Samuel coming off is kind of the one I was hoping would swing back around to us. It doesn't work out that way. So that is a little disappointing that it didn't quite work out. And now we are here with this spot. And I will be honest, as I look down here, James Cook still being available has me reconsidering whether the ETN pick was the one to do. Like, maybe because there are a few running backs in this neighborhood that I don't mind ending up with Cook, Mixon, and Alvin Kamara. Maybe I should have gone with an Olave or an Adams in this spot and then have it come back around to these guys. So now we are looking at wide receiver. Nico Collins, I believe we ended up with him the other day. Stephon Diggs, I'm just all the way out on. That's a no for me. Jalen Waddle as well, I think is interesting. You have DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp a little bit further down. Lamar Jackson interests me, actually a fair amount, but I still feel like, again, this is just, it's too early to go quarterback. We went quarterback early with Josh Allen, and I really didn't like how that team turned out. And I think if we wait on wide receiver until our next pick, and again, we do have a wraparound, so maybe it gets a little bit easier to do that, but also maybe we just get a better, or not a better quarterback, but another quarterback in there, and see how that works. So it's an interesting strategic decision. We only have 30 seconds left here. I feel like Nico Collins is going to be very good. And so we're going to go Nico Collins in that area. Immediately after, it goes Diggs, Rachaad White, Jalen Waddle. Oh, now this is interesting, because then it goes DJ Moore, James Cook, Cooper Kupp, and it comes back around to us, and Lamar Jackson is still there at this quarterback spot. Again, after him, as kind of our safety blankets, it's Stroud, Richardson, who in the full episode I have laid out why I don't want him. But then in the round after, it's Burrow, and in the round after him, it's Kyler and Dak, and the round after that, Jordan Love. All quarterbacks who I'm comfortable with getting. And so, like, Lamar here is really interesting, but I think the opportunity cost of not getting a DK Metcalf or a Malik Neighbors or a Michael Pittman is just too much. If we had gone receiver early, there's also Mixon, who I'm comfortable with as our running back 2, Walker, who I'm comfortable with as our running back 2 in this neighborhood, but DK Metcalf, I think, is the move here. So now we have we'll here, I'll make the pick. DK Metcalf goes. So now we have a running back room with Hall and Etienne that I'm very comfortable with. We have a receiving room of Collins and Metcalf that I'm very comfortable with. And we're still comfortable with a number of the tight ends that are on the board. And we're still comfortable with a couple of the quarterbacks that are on the board here as well. And so while it has been tempting early on to go with one of the big names at quarterback and even a little bit of tight end, I still think that the right move was made in waiting here. And now we do run into a situation that we haven't really a whole lot yet. There was a tight end run that I was not expecting. So since our last pick, Kincaid, McBride, Kittle, Andrews, and Pitts have all come off the board. We have been getting tight ends a little bit early in this draft to avoid this situation. Ingram and Bowers fascinate me. Ingram had a ton of volume last year. Bowers, I think, could do that out with the Raiders. I don't know if I want to bank on that as my number one guys, though, but I don't feel like we're in a spot to reach on the tight end here just yet. I think we can wait at least a couple of rounds for that now. And so this is now an area we haven't really drafted running back or wide receiver here in this neighborhood a whole lot as of right now. And so in this spot, I am going to go probably T. Higgins. So the receivers on the board, for those listening, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, and George Pickens are there. At running back, it's Aaron Jones and James Conner, David Montgomery, and DeAndre Swift also here in this spot. Jones, I think there's still a lot of talent there. I just worry, like, how much are we banking on Sam Darnold actually getting the job done? But with Higgins, I think he's incredibly talented. I do worry about the holdout this year, but he is coming in basically as our flex player now with Collins and Metcalf ahead of him. So I love getting Higgins here in the fifth as kind of like we have a safety blanket again to just not have to worry about it. At this point now, I do feel like we have to go quarterback. I don't mind if we fall to Prescott or Love, but I would rather not. There aren't a whole lot of players here where I am looking at that I would be disappointed if we didn't get instead of going for a Kyler Murray. So we will go with Kyler. Well, you know what? Because we've gone Kyler quite a bit. And so I kind of want to play a few different strategies out here, obviously. Najee Harris is going to get a lot of carries early on this season with Pittsburgh. And so that might be not a bad flex balance. While Higgins works his way back in, Najee Harris gets the boatload of the carries in Pittsburgh with Jalen Warren out. And so Najee is interesting here. I'm also looking at Raheem Mostert because we do have a while before it loops back around to us with the 9th pick of the 7th round. And I really liked getting Mostert. I think he is kind of the number one back with the Miami Dolphins. And even if HN has a big year, I still think Mostert is going to be a effective running back in this offense. And so the hesitation I have, just to talk this all out with you, the hesitation that I have is we go quarterback, let's say in the back part of the last round with Love, we miss out on Bowers, and now we're into a tight end landscape that I don't really love. And so looking at some of the running backs down the list, Javonte Williams is down there. But then after that, it does kind of fall off a little bit. And then we're getting into the receivers that we like. So it's a difficult decision for us to pull the trigger on, but I am going to go Raheem Mostert here. And let's see how this different strategy plays out. So after that, Pickens and Odunze go, Montgomery, Pollard, Xavier Worthy as well, Christian Kirk. Kyler Murray does come off the board. We kind of expected that. Keenan Allen, Najee Harris, then Jalen Reed and Calvin Ridley, Zamir White, Rashee Rice, Nick Chubb, and Godwin. So it comes back around to us. There are a couple of quarterbacks and a couple of tight ends available. Looking the team right after us, the two teams right after us also don't have a quarterback and also don't have tight ends. They both pick twice coming back around to us. So now we have to try to see, because I could see both of those teams also going quarterback and tight end. There's more passable tight ends available, I think, in this neighborhood than there are quarterbacks. And so I am going to go with Jordan Love. I think this offense is going to grow a little bit. Immediately after us, Prescott goes, then Ingram, Njoku, Moss, Purdy, Addison. And so it comes back around and we gambled and we won. I was hoping Bowers would still be there. I didn't think he would be. But Team 12 going David Njoku helps us out immensely. They go Njoku and Moss. Purdy goes as well, along with Jordan Addison. And so here we are, able to pick Brock Bowers. And so we still get a quarterback tight end combination that we'll feel comfortable with, which is always something I try to do coming out of these drafts. And so again now, by waiting on these just a little bit longer, I do think we have kind of bumped down a tier from what we normally get in these spots. Like a lot of times at quarterback, we have been getting we have been getting Kyler, let's say, and Kittle as quarterback and tight end. But one of the things that has happened is that as other drafts have happened and as everyone kind of adjusts now, we have seen that some of the guys who we want are going a little bit earlier. So we have to adjust. So we have, I think, taken a bit of a dip in the tier from with our quarterback and with our tight end. But there's still quarterbacks and tight ends that we're comfortable with. And now I feel very comfortable with Mostert as my running back 3. I feel very comfortable with Higgins as my wide receiver 3 and one of them in the flex. And so now we are into this spot where we want to get a couple of the high-end wide receivers, or the couple of the breakout wide receivers, I should say, and guys who I'm feeling good about. And one of them is Jackson Smith-Njigba. The other is Jameson Williams. I do like Williams, I think, more than Smith-Njigba, but I am going to play the ADP game on this and hope that Williams is still there for me when it swings back around. So we're going to go JSN in this spot. Edwards goes after us, then it's Jared Goff, Brian Thomas. Another one who I was thinking about, Ezekiel Elliott, Ty J. Spears, Trey Benson for Arizona, and it comes back to us, and wouldn't you know it, our boy Jameson Williams is right there. And so again, this is the middle part where we want to come away with 2 of Watson, Smith-Njigba, and Williams. We have done just that. Probably going to miss out on one of the running backs we want in Chase Brown. He does go with the 8th pick in the 10th round. And so as it comes back to us, this is the reason why, and I'll explain in a sec, why I like to do this kind of strategy with these guys, is because one of the things I have noticed is that I do think there are some running backs in the back part, like a few 1Bs, so to speak, who are going here in the 11th and 12th round. We miss out on a few, admittedly, in Chase Brown, Zach Charbonnet, and J.K. Dobbins, but we still get an opportunity to take one of them. Chuba Hubbard, for the first 4 or 5 weeks, is going to be the guy in Carolina. And so to have him come in as our running back 4, I like being able to get a guy who I think is going to be a pretty good case for volume anyway in out in Carolina, and be able to help us out that way. Another one here that's tempting is Rico Dowdle, running back for Dallas. We haven't really taken him a whole lot in drafts so far. He is someone who intrigues me quite a bit, because standing in his way is only Ezekiel Elliott, and that's not overly concerning to me. But there's another one down here, Jalen Wright. I get that he right now is the number 3 with the Miami Dolphins, but he is an injury away, and he is in a better offense. So it's a little bit tempting, and it does kind of handcuff one of the plays we had earlier. If Mostert isn't effective, I don't think it's just going to be Achane. I think it's going to be Achane and Jalen Wright. And so here in this spot in the 12th round, I'm actually going to go Jalen Wright to round out our running back depth. And so admittedly, when we've taken those 3 receivers before, whether it be Watson, Smith-Njigba, and Williams, in some of the other spots, our wide receiver depth has looked a little bit better than it does right now. Hubbard and Wright are maybe a little bit more dart throwy, and a little bit more lottery ticket-esque than maybe I would like, as we come back around here. And so because of that, and Samaje Perine is going to get cut, which hurts my 16-team Dynasty League that I had earlier. But I think that opens the door for a little bit more Jaleel McLaughlin. Again, I think the 1B in a running back situation in Denver, but I think that still gets him quite a bit of value and quite a bit of volume. So I'm going to just kind of back up my backups a little bit and get Jaleel McLaughlin here in the 13th round. And so now it's going to come back around, and we need to get a defense and we need to get a kicker. So we are going to go with the New York Jets defense, and then it'll come back around to us and we will go with a kicker. So I think I like this team a little bit less than Team 8, but I'm happy we tried this strategy today, for reasons that I kind of broke down before, where I feel like we did move down a tier In quarterback here, I have one selection left. My boy Daniel Carlson. Let's rock and roll with him. But we moved down a tier in getting Love and Bowers, but because of that, we really solidify our wide receiver group with T. Higgins and Raheem Mostert. We then back up Raheem Mostert just in case by getting Jalen Wright a little bit later on, but that is a player that could absolutely hit, and we still get a couple of the, again, more lottery ticket, but guys who I think are really going to break out and could help us to a championship this year in Smith and Jigba and in Williams. And then we get, I think, some pretty good volume plays in Hubbard and McLaughlin. And so I think this is one of the more complete teams that we have drafted so far. I like this group. I still like Team 8 a little bit better, though, but I think we did a great job here with this one. And I think this was a good exercise to see, like, what happens if we wait. We're relying a bit on Bowers to really break out. And to have a piece of an offense that was very conservative last year. But I do think we're going to be able to do that. Or I do think he's going to be able to do that and have a pretty good year with the Raiders. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a blast today. We're going to do this again tomorrow. Coming up on the show tomorrow, that whole players who are going to decide fantasy, we're going to do that with players who I think are going to decide this NFL season. Rookies to watch in fantasy, and we're going to have another mock draft coming up, plus coaches who are on the hot seat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are, wherever you are consuming this, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching, make sure you like it. If you listen, make sure you review it. Follow me on social media at Primetime Klein, and I'll talk to all of you later. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.